This program contains adult content. Parental discretion is advised.
This plant violates every labor law in the book.
Get back to work, you slacker.
All calls are recorded. Dr. Valentino to the ORP.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 6. Don't you just love that guitar riff? Steph of Gotham Lights Podcast and From Brain to Keyboard blog picked it. The song is Love is Like Oxygen by the band Sweet. There's so much panning stereo and mono-centered channel mixing goodness in this song, it just begs to be listened to. They don't do it like this anymore. You can really hear the warmth of the mixing board. Production guys, myself included, spend hours and tons of cash on plugins to replicate that loss of warmth. There's just a different sound when it goes through an analog board. This week, I sit down with Stephanie Muniz. And we talk about things like what it's like to live on the surface of the sun and how it melts all those snowbirds away. How streaming is better than conventional package watching. Relocating possibly to the East Coast. Hint, hint. Being calm and focused like Spock. Also, ready to rock, dude, and bag her up. Get ready for a, what did she just say her job was? Moment, because it is pretty interesting. I am still whirling in my head from the possible logistics to what she does for her job and how I just can't imagine how she keeps everything lined up and straight and in her head because it's a pretty interesting one for sure. If you want to check her blog out, it's at frombraintokeyboard.blogspot.ca. And the Gotham Lights podcast can be reached at Gotham Lights on Twitter. And just search for Gotham Lights on Facebook. You'll find them pretty quickly. So give it a good like and follow along. Also, a big thanks to everybody that subscribes to the show. We just broke 165 unique user downloads, so that means it's not me downloading it 125 times. There's actually 165 of you out there that have subscribed and get pushed to your devices. So I am eternally grateful for your hour, 2 hours sometimes. I appreciate every one of you. As always, if you want to be part of the show, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at What's Your Work, or you can drop an email, whatsyourwork@gmail.com. And you can check out our website now on Libsyn. It is whatsyourwork.libsyn.com. On the side there, I put a little funny thing for you American people, Stephanie included, so she can see in the middle of winter, compare your temperature versus our temperature. So you'll see it, there's a little weather widget, they call them. One's in Fahrenheit and the other one's in Celsius. So you can say, if I ever do say on Twitter or whatever that it's minus 40 today. Well, minus 40 is not a good example because minus 40 is minus 40 in Fahrenheit, but you'll get the idea. You can see there exactly what the temperature's like here and what's happening, if it's 4 feet of snow or... Anyway, let's get into this episode, and until next time, please enjoy my interview of Stephanie Muniz. So we can start out by you telling me who you are. What's your name?
My name is Stephanie Muniz, and I am currently living in Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix, Arizona. Awesome.
Yes, aka the surface of the sun.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about that because how hot did it get this summer? 110 or something? 120?
We hit 120. Yeah.
And what do you say? It gets rid of the tourists?
Oh yeah. I mean, we rarely have people here that aren't stuck here or live here during the summer months. We have them like the rest of the year because we do get a lot of snowbirds that come down for when the weather starts to cool down, because the winters here are gorgeous. If the temperature was the same throughout the entire year that it was during our winter,
yeah,
I probably wouldn't mind it so much. But the summers are brutal. They're hard to get through.
Well, I'm sure if you looked hard enough, you'd see a lot of Winnipeggers, because I hear that a lot here. That there's even our old mayor actually has like a summer house there in Phoenix, and there's a lot of people that go to Phoenix from here.
Oh yeah, I have a fun time spotting the Canadian license plates on the freeway.
There you go.
And at the same time cursing them for clogging up the rush hour traffic. It's like, why are you here? You're not working. Get out of the morning traffic.
They got to get the early bird special, right?
I know.
That's a Canadian thing. Have you always lived there?
No. We've been living here for about 16 years. My dad is originally from here. He was born and raised in Phoenix, but I was originally born in Germany.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Now that, okay, so let's go back, because so your last name, is that German as well?
No, that's it's funny because it looks a lot like a different name, but it's pronounced differently.
Okay.
So a lot of people will all the time call me Muniz.
Okay. Yep.
Kind of like Frankie Muniz. And they're like, oh, are you related? And I'm like, no, because mine doesn't have a thing over the N and whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So it's pronounced Muniz, and it throws everyone off all the time. Mm-hmm. And from what I've learned, the little I know about the last name, it's actually Spanish in origin, like Spain Spanish.
Okay.
Because I think one of my father's great-grandfathers, great-grandfather came from Spain.
Okay.
Met his wife, who is from Mexico, and then the other half of his side are both from Mexico. So primarily, I guess that makes me Mexican-American and German.
Well, now, wow, that's interesting. So originally, when I saw your last name, I thought for sure it was Spanish. That's why it kind of threw me for a loop when you said German. So I was like, I'm pretty sure that's a Spanish name. Because
and so living in Arizona, that throws everyone off. They see my name or they see me and immediately expect me to know Spanish. And I learned Spanish in high school. I can get by with a little bit of conversational Spanish, but I'm not fluent at all. So anytime somebody tries to speak to me in Spanish and I go, no, I speak German, they look kind of like a deer in the headlights. They don't understand. It's like, no comprendo. What? So it's fun. My dad, growing up, used to always call me and my sister a Germex.
Oh, Germex.
Germex. Like, oh, gee, thanks, Dad.
Right on.
But yeah, my mom is German, so.
That's cool. Yeah, I have German blood as well from on my mother's side. Well, not my mother's side, my grandmother's side.
Okay.
Her parents were from Germany, and in World War II, they came over and landed in Newfoundland, and then that's where they met my grandfather. And so, yeah, down the line, we're there. Let's see. If you could go anywhere in the world and start over, where would it be?
It's something that I've thought about a lot, and my answer keeps changing. Like
Yeah.
when I was younger,
Yeah.
it was, oh, I'd move back to Germany,
Yeah.
like in a heartbeat. And then as I started getting older and realizing how difficult that would be as an American,
Yep.
that probably wouldn't be a good idea.
No.
And as I mean, I still love Germany. I still have family there. I would love to be closer to them. And that's why I've always thought, oh, like East Coast, somewhere around there where I'm still in the United States. So I can still, find a job and all this other stuff. Because that's the difficult part. When I was younger, I had both German and American citizenship. The American through my dad, the German through my mother. But at the time, Germany didn't allow dual citizenship.
Oh,
So
okay.
as soon as I turned 18, they're like, you have to pick one. And my mother was very adamant that I did not pick German. She's like, we live in the United States. You need to be an American. You have better opportunity for that.
Well, for sure.
So that's what I picked. And so as I got older and realized, it would be really difficult to be an American trying to make a living in Germany. So then I, as a backup to that, I always thought England would be really cool. But again, it'd be kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It'd be really difficult to live there as a foreigner, and then Brexit happened, so now it's like even the English don't want to be in England.
Yeah, that's amazing how that happened. Just the family in Germany kind of pulling you there, or is it something else?
It's, I think, mostly the family, but I also I love Germany. I love the fact that it's such a place that's so rich in history. There's more castles in Germany than here, definitely in the United States. I don't think we have really any castles unless you count the one in Disneyland. So,
we don't have any either. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that. And so there's so many that I've yet to explore, and just I love the culture and the food, and it's just a great place. It's so beautiful there with the forests, and plus it's so diverse. I mean, you've got the coast in the north, so you have ocean if you want it. Then you've got the mountains in the south. You have the forests in the middle, and you just pick a direction and you can discover all these amazing things. And I also like to keep up on my German. If I go every once in a while, I get a refresher and then I'm good again.
Awesome. That's cool. And then England, that is an interesting one, given how much traffic there is in and around Britain and whatnot. I've always been drawn because on my other side is English and Scottish and Irish, and then sprinkled a little German in there, but for the most part, it's English and Scottish. So I've always been drawn to go there, and it's kind of on our bucket list, my wife and I. So Germany is on her bucket list as well because she does speak a little bit German. So my wife is Filipino, but she's traveled the world quite a bit when she was growing up. So she's been in Germany, China, all over Spain, all those areas, right? So, but she always was drawn to Germany for again its beauty. That's kind of why I asked, right? Because she loved it there, and she actually wants to go back there with me and kind of explore it and go to England and kind of explore there. So maybe one of these days before I die and the kids are gone away, well,
once they're grown up and out of the house.
Yeah, well, by that time I'm going to be probably too old. We had our youngest we had really late in life. Like my wife was 42 when we had our youngest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when she's just going to college, we'll be kind of thinking about retiring. So it'll maybe work out at the same time. So yeah, that'd be cool. I really want to enjoy Germany because a like I said, some of my blood is there, and I love the food and I love the beer.
Yeah. Both good things.
Yeah.
You can enjoy them together quite often.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I've been to both places. I've England more recently. I went to London and Wales because I actually have friends that live over there,
Cool.
and so I got to have a whirlwind tour of London. I
Nice.
basically did all the major spots of London in a day,
Yeah. Oh, wow.
which is it's kind of crazy when you think about it. But we basically got there, I think the night before, and so that it gave us a whole day to kind of just wander around, and then I left the next day to go to Wales. But I had booked in advance a bus tour of London. So basically there was this London bus tour where you could buy a ticket for around 30 something pounds, I think. It wasn't even that bad, and it would allow you to get on the bus and then hop off at any stop where you wanted if you wanted to look around, and then just grab the next bus and hop back on. And they had several different lines you could hop in between.
Yeah.
So you could hit Buckingham Palace, Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, the Tower of London, all these big major spots, and get there on a bus. So you didn't have to walk and worry about transportation. And then the cool thing about it is the ticket also included a river tour.
Oh.
So you could go on down to the Thames, and there was a specific boat that you would go through because I guess they had some sort of association.
Yeah.
And then you just basically get this short little tour along the Thames from one side to the other and up. And it was great because then you got to see all the stuff along the Thames and then take pictures from the boat.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. So I think that helped in order to accomplish all those places because I saw all the big things that I wanted to see in that one day. And so I definitely highly recommend that option for people who have limited time to spend in London. It was money well spent.
I will definitely look at that because that is exactly what a lot of places need, because it's so daunting when you think of going somewhere like Spain or Germany or going to China or something. That it's like, where do you start? And it's so, I think it's more daunting now with the internet, because it's like you can look at everything in the internet and you go, okay, where the hell do I start now? But to be able to get on a bus and just hit, the major places and then say, I really don't have a time limit because I can hop on another bus later and go to the next one. That's an amazing idea. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, and it was a traditional red double-decker London bus.
Nice.
So that was like one bucket list item scratched off my list. I was so excited to ride on a double-decker bus, and of course went straight to the top and sat in there.
Yeah.
The weather was also typical London weather. It was raining the whole day, so that wasn't as nice for sightseeing, but it was London, so what are you going to do? But we had time where it was cloudy, but it wasn't raining, so we could get out and do pictures and things.
Nice.
And the other thing that was really exciting was, of course, I got to also ride in a traditional black London cab.
Nice. Yeah.
Got to flag one down, get in, ride. It was great.
That's so cool.
I wish I could go back.
What's can you think of one thing that kind of stood out, your favorite thing there, or theater maybe? I don't know.
I think, yeah, the Globe Theatre was really cool, as I'm a big Shakespeare fan.
Yeah.
So to see that, we couldn't really go in because I think there was a play going on as we were there, and there were people kind of milling around waiting to go in.
Yeah.
So I didn't go inside. I just kind of wandered around, and it looks exactly like it did if you look at the pictures and drawings from back then, because they painstakingly restored it to what it was back then. So I think that was really, really cool to see. Buckingham Palace was also really interesting, just for the fact of how many people were there staring through these gates at this house and watching the Red Guard march back and forth across the thing. And it's interesting.
So are you into the monarch or no?
Well, I find them extremely interesting. Just because
really? How so?
Just the fact that they're such a huge part of the British life and culture.
Yeah.
And yet they don't really have all that much pull, but they're still just, everyone is just head over heels for them, and
I know
it's amazing. And
that's one part that boggles my brain. I don't understand that. It's like they don't really have anything to do with lawmaking or whatnot, but people are just gaga for them.
exactly, I think it's just because that they were ruled by a monarchy for such a long time that it's just kind of been ingrained in just the British. It's just a thing that they're used to. But I also just find it fascinating, how every time there's a baby born, or somebody has a new girlfriend or something, or Harry does something that he shouldn't be doing. It just makes like big news all over the place. And it's like, they're just people. Yes, they're incredibly famous royal people, but they're still people.
Yes.
And I find that it's intriguing. All the monarchs of Europe that still exist, even the ones that do have power, some of the ones like in the smaller nations,
Yep.
it's still interesting to read about them. That's one of the things that anytime that we're in Germany, because it's part of Europe, their tabloids have all the stuff about like the European monarchs, which you don't really hear about in the U.S.
Right.
You don't really get that information. You maybe get something if somebody does something like really bad, or something happens, or someone dies, then you hear about it over here. But you get all the little details over there, and it's really intriguing because you don't have that here. We don't have a monarchy.
Yeah.
We made sure by throwing some tea into the ocean that there wouldn't be a monarchy over here
That's
anymore.
right.
So.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, yeah, England. It's like I said, it's on our list to go. I get the pull there. So Newfoundland, where
Scotland too.
yeah,
Scotland would be amazing.
yeah, that's where that's where I really want to go, is Scotland and Ireland, because Ireland and Scotland look almost identical to where I'm from.
Yeah, although I would really love to visit Newfoundland too. That area of Canada looks amazing.
It is. It is. I tell everybody, if you can just go there and visit, do it. It's like no place on earth as far as hospitality and beauty, and just the overall ambiance of the whole place is just great. It's a fantastic place to visit, but it's not the greatest place to live. Work is not the greatest there.
Right.
Fishing used to be a huge thing there, but overfishing and foreign trawlers and stuff like that have really kind of wrecked the fishing industry in Newfoundland. And there was a thing here called
That's a shame.
Yeah, it was. There was a point actually in the late 90s where Canadian Coast Guard were actually firing shots over the bows of the Portuguese trawlers. They were, trying to defend their border. Basically, there's what they call a 100-mile limit. So 100 miles off the shores of Newfoundland is basically fair game. So anybody can kind of, dip in 50 miles, do a big catch, and then dip back out, right? So there for a while, like I said, in the 90s, it got pretty bad there for a while. They figured it was going to be war out there in the ocean. So, but
wow.
Yeah. So you take, a bunch of people that, there's not a heck of a lot of people. There's only, I think there's like 300,000 on the whole island. So it's not a heck of a lot of people. And you take that major industry away from them, and, that's all you knew. That's ingrained in your blood and whatnot. And you take that away, and it's a big thing. There's a lot of hardship going on that island, but everybody kind of takes it all in stride. And I don't know if it's the mixture of Irish and Scottish and English, and it's you got that English perseverance, and you got the Scottish, I don't care, I'm just gonna drink, and then you got the Irish kind of happy-go-lucky kind of playing music. that's the island right there.
I don't care because I'm already drunk.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm already drunk. Hey, there's something to play. Let me stomp my feet on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. You got the British, they're like, don't panic and carry on. The Scottish, who are just, will fight our way through, and then the Irish is like, I'm already drunk, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a great place. If you can swing by there at some point in your life, you won't be disappointed. That's for sure.
Yeah, because I actually have a friend who lives in Nova Scotia, and so I would love to go there as well.
Nice.
And then while I'm in the area, go up to Newfoundland and just kind of hit that whole area at once, because I think that would just be
Yep.
fantastic.
Nova Scotia is great. My parents live in New Brunswick, which is right next door to it.
Uh-huh.
It's gorgeous. Anytime you get on the East Coast and it's very very close to how Connecticut and those kind of areas look. So you got trees, you got oceans, it's all like that. It's real nice. It's enjoyable for sure. Whereabouts in Nova Scotia? Halifax, those areas, or?
Yeah, Halifax. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Halifax is great. The only thing you got to remember is they used to do it years ago. I don't know if they still do it, but sometimes around noontime, a cannon blows off. So it gets. I don't know if they just did that for one summer or something, but I just about had a poop in my pants one day because I was just down the hill from it. I'm like, this huge cannon went off. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then when I asked the locals, they said, oh yeah, around lunchtime they fire off the cannon, and it's got something to do with like a heritage thing. So I don't know if it was just that time of the year or what it was, but it was pretty scary.
Yeah, I grew up in Kentucky, as my dad was stationed at Fort Knox for a while. And Fort Knox was a major training facility for tanks because he was a master gunner.
Oh.
So that would happen there too quite often, where they'd be just shooting off live tank rounds and trading and stuff, and you just kind of hear it just roaring through the countryside, and it's definitely interesting.
Awesome. So did you, are you an Army brat? Like you went around or?
I am. Yeah. My dad joined the Army straight out of high school, was sent to Germany right on his first tour. Yeah. That's where he met my mom. And then they both came back, were in Texas for a little while, and then they actually sent him back to Germany for a second tour, which he was really excited about because he had fallen in love with Germany and he loved it so much. And then mom was, of course, hoping to go back as well and see family again.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so on that second tour, that's when I was born. And so we lived in Berlin for a while. And then when I was about 5, or just after 6, actually, he was then asked to come back to the States and was stationed in Fort Knox. So from 6 to about middle school-ish age, I was living in Kentucky, and then tiny bit in Tennessee, and then right before I started high school, we moved to Arizona.
Cool. So our hockey team, I don't know if you were aware of this, but Winnipeg Jets actually went to Phoenix in 1996. Did you know that?
I did not know that. No.
Yeah, so we were at the point, well, I shouldn't say.
Did they all melt?
Yes, they did. They all melted. They were like, what is this sun thing? I don't get it.
And they never came back again.
They didn't. But no, they actually didn't. Actually, the team moved on.
Now, the Coyotes are who we have right now.
Right, yeah, no.
And it's I still don't understand why we have a hockey team.
Don't get
I
me
know
started.
you can have ice rinks in the desert. It's possible. I get it. I just don't understand why they try so hard to have a hockey team here when we live in the middle of the desert.
There's one guy, I think his name is Bettman. Gary Bettman from NHL is the reason why a lot of teams are. But that being said, I mean, Phoenix did not too bad for a while. California does good. Florida does good. So what are you going to do?
I guess. just put it on that list of just weird things that happen to work.
Yeah, and now there's one in Las Vegas. So they have the Las Vegas Knights, which is, I don't know. I don't get that one either. Again, it's all marketing,
desert,
right?
Yeah, but that one I can see how they could pull it off because it's Vegas. So you've got the constant tourism and the influx of money that's coming in through there. So that one with advertising and everything, that one I could see doing really well and prospering. Plus you've got just the huge because I was there not too long ago and actually saw the giant UFC facility that they have there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's insane how much that has garnered and kind of built up in Vegas. And I could see the NHL doing well there, too, because plus then they could have legal bets on hockey. So
Right, exactly. I think that's the whole thing, right? Like, so that's what they're looking at. There's so much money floating around in Vegas, too. It's, now it is.
Way more so than here. It's like, Why?
So that being said, like what is the major industry in Phoenix? Tourism?
When it's not hot, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of companies that come here because it's so much cheaper than California.
Mm.
So you've got a lot of the tech companies that are now starting to move their businesses here because they can get office buildings a lot cheaper. They can find workers and employees for a lot cheaper because they don't have to pay them as much to
Okay.
afford to live in California
Right.
as they do here. So you actually do have quite a lot of tech companies springing up in Tempe, Arizona, which is where the university is. The ASU is there in Tempe. So that's a big area for the college, and
Okay.
all the tech industries are there. And so that's actually in the last few years started really, really getting big and busy. So you see a lot of people coming in for that because I notice it on the traffic in the morning when I'm trying to get to work. Going, where are all these people and why are they here? This wasn't like this 10 years ago.
Well, that's like any big city, I guess. So how far from work are you, and how long does it normally take?
I'm about 40 miles
Ooh.
away, but it takes me anywhere from an hour to an hour and 15 minutes to get to work.
That's so. Let me try to put that in kilometers now for my metric brain. So
Right.
50 miles. That's about we'll say almost 70 kilometers, I guess. So it's about it's a little under an hour if you didn't have to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, depending on which way you go, I mean, we take one of the freeways, and it still takes us an hour on the freeway
Yeah.
in the carpool lane, which is supposed to go
Ooh.
faster, but it's just there's so much traffic that it takes forever, and you're often stop and go traffic with maybe a little bit of a reprieve here and there where you can actually go the speed limit on the freeway. But yeah, it's a rough commute. I really wish that I could live closer to work and not have this commute because it's rough, and I'm so happy that I can carpool because my mother actually works at the same company.
Yeah.
So we dread the days that we can't go to work together because it means having to be in the regular traffic, which is so much worse and causes us to leave way earlier than we have to. So yeah, I am not a fan of morning commute traffic or afternoon commute traffic because the afternoon can sometimes be just as bad or even worse.
I don't think anybody is a fan of commuting. I don't think I've ever met anybody that said, yeah, I love commuting and sitting in a car in the heat and just going nowhere fast.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know how that one is. Toronto was like that too. We were pretty much, I'd say worse because I was about 20 kilometers. So that's about 10, 15 miles from my work.
Mm-hmm.
And it would take me an hour. So I know how that is.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
That's rough.
Yep. Let's talk a little bit about Gotham. So I'm not going to say any spoilers because I hear that you did not see the episode from last night.
I did not. I went to watch it, and for some reason, my DVR just decided to go, nope, you don't get to watch this.
Oh,
and then
no.
I canceled the recordings and tried to catch the next showing that's on, and that one still didn't work. So luckily, with the way my DVR and even with the way my TV works, because I got rid of our satellite TV because it was so too expensive.
Yeah.
And I could get Sling TV, which is what I have right now,
Nice.
for way cheaper per month. And so that's all based over the internet. I have an Amazon Fire TV that it all goes through.
Yep.
And so usually the next day, if I can't catch it live, they'll automatically upload it to the show's feed on that channel, and then I can just watch it then. So that's what I'll be doing tonight is watching that in the Orville. So I'll be caught up.
Yes.
But, yeah.
You will enjoy it. I was like, whoa. You'll notice, and I guess I noticed it from the actual premiere as well. They must have hired on a whole batch of new writers because the show was taking a different feel this year. And I think they're going for more serious. It's feeling a lot, not as campy, I should say. There is a little bit of camp, but it's feels like it's being produced a lot better and written a lot better this year.
It's great. I mean, it
Yeah.
could also just be that the writers are finally getting in their stride that they do have, and they could have maybe gotten new writers as well.
Yeah.
That's something that definitely happens a lot on network television, is that writers cycle out constantly, showrunners cycle out.
Yep.
It's a constant influx and change of people working on a TV show. So you do tend to see changes quite often. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not good. You just hope that they're good and it all works out. But yeah, I mean, I really loved the premiere. I
Yep.
thought it was fantastic, and I am definitely looking forward to watching the next show. I want to see what happens with the newly introduced Scarecrow and all that fun stuff.
It is bloody good. You will enjoy it. I guarantee it. But I want to just back up a little bit, because when you were starting to talk about TV and all that, how do I word this? So I do a lot of that streaming as well. And I know a lot of people stream as well around me, legally, and maybe some people not so legally.
Not so, right?
Yeah. Do you feel, and this is, I guess, for down there, because I'm kind of reaching out across the country, between two countries, I guess, because I notice it more up here. And I think a lot of it up here, why we stream, is we have what we call the CRTC, which is the Canadian Content and Regulatory Commission, or something like that. So any U.S. broadcasts, and it just came out today, actually, that even on Netflix now, the Canadian government wants to get involved because they believe that there's not enough Canadian content on there. So they're actually going to start charging Netflix. And I don't even ask me how they're going to do this, because it doesn't make any lick of sense to me whatsoever. But I think, judging by what I'm seeing around here, most people are giving up on TV. And it almost sounds like you've started that process as well. Is it similar down there, where a lot of people are saying, you know what, TV just sucks. I don't get to watch what I want to watch, how I want to watch it, and streaming is the way for me. Do you notice that as well, or?
Yeah, I think here it's not so much that it's getting uber regulated, but with us, it kind of depends on the area you live in, whether or not you have the choice of provider number A or provider number B. And
Right.
if you don't like provider number A, you're kind of stuck with B and whatever they want to charge. And for us, it's just the cost of it for what we were getting and what we were watching just wasn't working anymore. I didn't want to pay that much just to have the few channels that I do watch for the shows that I watch, just when I could get it all differently and pay way less. So I think that's what it is for a lot of people. And then plus the companies here, especially the larger ones, they're starting to have more of a monopoly on the service. So you have fewer providers that are now big and huge and can start to implement certain things that make things more difficult for the average consumer.
Yeah.
So I think people, they just are done and they want to just cut the cord. Plus, you don't have to deal with contracts anymore. You're just on this monthly agreement where you pay this monthly fee. If you want to cancel it, you can, no strings attached. If you try to, cancel with a satellite or cable company, they ask you, why are you leaving us? What can we do to change? Can we get you back? It's kind of crazy. I think when I canceled our satellite, I was on the phone with them for about an hour, because most of that was just explaining why I was leaving, what I was doing, and then I said I basically had to just not lie necessarily, but elaborate on the fact that, I don't really watch that much regular TV.
Yeah.
I really only care about Netflix and I stream stuff. And they're like, well, if you stream, you won't have good quality and all this stuff. And I said, well, for as much as I watch, I think I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And yeah, I could not be happier with what we have now.
Yeah.
And I get all the channels I need and want, plus some extra ones that I didn't realize that I could really get into. a couple sports channels that I really didn't watch before, but now because I've realized that they have soccer, which I love so much, I can watch that and kind of keep up on the soccer, which I didn't used to be able to do before.
Nice.
So yeah, I have not looked back. I could not be happier.
Yeah. So it's in you talking about the cable companies and whatnot. It is exactly the same problem that we're having here, where you've got these bundled packages, and I want to watch that one channel, and I've got to buy the other 5 channels at X price, and I don't even watch them. So
yeah, exactly. That was the same thing. I think the only thing stopping us from having like the basic package was that there was one channel that I really wanted, and maybe it was like a couple more, but one particular that I didn't watch a ton of, but there was one particular show on there that I really loved and wanted to keep watching.
Yeah.
And the only way was to have that one up. And so I'm paying for one channel
for one show.
when I could have that channel plus all the other channels I wanted for way, way, way less.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. So I said, no, I'm not going to do that anymore.
No.
And now we also, because we were trying to figure out what we were going to do, so we decided to cancel like the extras that we had. We had, I think, stars so that we could have some movie channels and things. And now we can have that back again because I'm saving so much money that I can add this on. Before we couldn't add any international channels. The Sling TV actually has a German network channel.
Nice.
Where we can actually watch German TV shows that we used to watch when we were there, and German movies and all this other stuff and news, and that alone is fantastic because then we can have that, that German language in the house where, even though, my mom's German, I'm German, we both speak German fluently, her a lot better than me. Yeah. But we're in America, so we hardly ever get a chance to use our German, so that having it in the house, I can tell it's already, just for the few months that we've had it, it's already starting to make a difference where we'll just start randomly saying something in German to try and explain what's going on. And even when we're not watching the German TV, we're talking in German about stuff.
That's great.
I think if somebody else would be observing us, they'd probably be confused because we'd be jumping back and forth. What I like to call Germlish.
Germlish, yeah.
Germlish, where we're mixing the German English. It's very similar to Spanglish, which sometimes happens.
Yes.
Not so much with me because I don't speak it too much, but yeah.
Yeah, we did basically the same thing here. We're kind of fed up with cable, and it's been 2 years now since we've had any cable whatsoever. We're saving, all told, about $200 a month, basically, by not having cable.
Wow, that's amazing. I think I'm saving just shy of 100.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit pricier up here. I mean, I
think everything is.
It's brutal. It's brutal. That's why we cross-border shop, don't you know?
Oh, yeah, I know. I went to Vancouver 2 years ago, and I could not believe the exchange rate.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, boy. Anytime I had to get out money, it was harsh.
2 years ago, so we were... Oh, you were still up at that time. I think it was like 4 years ago when we were almost parity. And that was, but 2 years ago, I think you guys were still up. I think we were at like 80 cents or something to your dollar. So, but still, when you got to go buy something, it's like, oh, and it's not just, oh, that's $20. No, it's $20 now plus taxes as well. So it's like 26.
Yeah, exactly. I tried to use my debit card, and that way I didn't see when I was being charged on top of it. I'm like, I don't want to know. And then when I did have to get cash out for certain things, I got cash out and then was mesmerized by your magical Monopoly money that you have. Like,
our colored money, yes.
It's colored and it's plastic and it's got like a spot you can see through. I don't understand what's happening here.
Yes, and don't bring it back to Phoenix because if you do, it'll melt.
It probably would.
It's true. I'm telling you, it would, because some people have left like their wallets on their dash, and there's enough heat in the cars here that it'll melt. It's a silly thing, I know.
Oh no, yeah, that would be a bad idea here.
I'm sure some people have done it and went, oh no, what do I do?
Yeah, I almost didn't want to spend it because it was so pretty. Like,
They
is
are
this
nice.
real?
Yeah, they are nice. I gotta say that. That's
I
one
think,
thing. It is nice looking.
yeah,
But yeah.
because I mean, the euro is also fairly colorful, but it's
Mhm.
still very much paper, and it's just blue and green and red
Yep.
and whatnot. But no, Canadian money is super colorful. And like I said, the plastic with the see-through, I was amazed. I think the only thing I ended up coming back with was some change, which the Canadian penny looks very much like our penny. So I
Actually,
had to be very careful not to mix that in.
yeah, and the penny. Well, hold on to it because the penny is now dead. We don't have pennies anymore. They did away with them
Oh,
like a
see,
year
and
ago.
there's always been talk that they're going to do the same thing here, and they haven't yet. But I know that it always comes up. They're like, this penny is useless. Why do we still have it? It costs us more
Yep.
to make these pennies.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. That's exactly
than what
why they
they're
did
worth.
away. Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
why they did away with it. It's going to cost. It costs them more to produce it and mine it than it actually is worth. So, get rid of it.
Yeah, see, and Canada's always so far ahead of us.
Yes
You
and
guys had
no.
the little chip readers before we did, and the cards,
Oh yeah,
and now you got rid of the penny.
yeah. RFID chips. Yeah, exactly. But I think that all
Yep.
came about because we couldn't get across the border with the card, something like that.
I think it's funny that you mentioned the Canadian Broadcasting whatever commission thing that they want to try and force Netflix and things to get more Canadian TV and movies and stuff on there. That's interesting because I know I'd heard, and I can't remember where, maybe it was on our liner notes
Mm.
because of course Chris is also Canadian.
Yep.
Where they mentioned that there was something very similar with Canadian music, where there wasn't enough Canadian music being played in Canada, so
Yep.
they jump-started the career of all these Canadian bands just for that fact. And I think one of the big ones was Nickelback.
Oh,
That
yes.
they exist because of that.
That yes. We no more talk of Nickelback, but yes, I
Right,
believe that
yes.
is, and
I
that's
only
actually
use
what
them as an example.
yeah. And that's what they're actually talking about. They're saying, they're actually looking at, Spotify and other streaming, music streaming services as like a template to say, look, here's what we've done as far as regulating more Canadian content into these services. We need to do this in Netflix because, everybody, the writing's on the wall for those guys, right? Like we were talking about, everybody's kind of shifting away from normal TV, and they're getting it other means. Say, our major TV network up here is CBC, which is Canadian Broadcasting Centre,
Right.
and they have their own online website where you just go on there and you just pick a show and you just watch it, right? So you stream it, within minutes of it airing, you can watch the TV show. So they recognize all this stuff, but they're looking at Netflix and going, well, you're not picking up on these shows. This is not right. We need to, and it's almost like protectionism that's going on down there right now, where you got to play our stuff. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to shake out. To me, I think they need to start relaxing on, like if you go on, and this was a problem for a while, like if you go on American Netflix and you go on Canadian Netflix, it's completely different. Like I can't watch certain shows, and it was actually a problem here for a while where people were setting up VPNs and getting the US content because we weren't getting the proper content. And I think it's still a problem, but we're getting more now. But I know there's shows that I can't watch on there that you guys can. So yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's nonsense. What? Anyway. So yeah, that's Gotham. Yeah. In a nutshell, it's going to be a great season, I think, this year.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm not hesitant about the show, but I'm hesitant about my show because of Henno being busy. I basically am taking over fully on Gotham Lights, and so that means recording it and editing it. And so the first one that I did with Ed took me a really long time because I'm not that used to editing. I did it for a little while a long time ago, and then it just whoop, gone. It disappeared out of my brain, and I always thought, I should let Henno help let me help him so that I could kind of get used to it
Yeah.
and not be so rusty at it. But
Yeah.
he would always do everything, so it was
Yeah.
always just, and so it was funny. But I managed to do it, and it turned out good. So
Oh, yeah,
that
it sure did.
That was great.
Yeah. If you need help, just let me know. If you need any help, like if you get too busy or whatever, just let me know. I'm more than willing. I got lots of time to go over edits and stuff like that too.
Good to know.
Yep. So let's move on to a little bit more until we get into the questions, because we've been at this almost an hour already. Can you imagine?
Wow, time flies when you're having fun. It's true.
Yeah, and the voice. I'm sure you're getting your voice is getting tore up over the last few days.
It's doing okay. It's doing better than I thought, and especially because I normally like to drink cold coffee because I'm not a huge coffee fan.
Yeah.
But so I usually drink everything iced because I can drink it faster, and that's really all I'm drinking for is to get the caffeine effect. But every once in a while, especially because it's so hot here, I don't really get hot coffee that often.
Yeah.
So this time I got the hot coffee, just thinking, oh, it'll soothe my voice and make it better.
No Red Bull.
Yeah, that might not work out well.
You know what? I've tried Red Bull on several occasions, and I don't know. I don't get it. It tastes kind of weird, but it doesn't.
It does taste weird, yeah. It's weird, but any type of energy drink has an immediate effect. Like I won't drink Monster at all because one time I had a Monster. I think I even had just half of it, and I thought my heart was going to explode.
Oh, really? When
Yeah.
my youngest was born, I tried to marathon that night because it was wife went into labor like around 6 o'clock in the evening, but she didn't she was still in labor like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I think I went through like 6 of them, and
Oh my God.
nothing, no, and I've taken them since, and it's like, I don't get it. What's everybody talking about?
Yeah, I mean, there are people out there that it has no effect on them, and how are you with caffeine? Because usually that's like everything is kind of across the board.
Yeah, not too much. Like I was actually talking to Agent Palmer about that earlier on the Skype here, and like I was telling him, like I'll have a coffee in the morning, but it's not like I'm like not a non-functional person without it. Like if I forget to have a coffee in the morning, it's not like, oh my God, I can't even think right now. But I
Right.
mostly have it just kind of, sipping on it on the way into work, just something kind of to do. So no, like to have a coffee, and it's weird. Like if I have a strong coffee, sometimes like in the evening, I'll actually get sleepy. Like it has the opposite effect with me. Like
Interesting.
like if I have an espresso shot, like I'm like getting tired. I don't know why, but some people are like that. So I hear, but anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm the same way. I don't always drink coffee because I need it.
Yeah.
There are times where I do, especially if I'm up late editing a podcast. But most of the time it's just I've gotten used to having a cup of coffee in the morning at
Yeah.
work, and it's just something that if I like you said, if I don't have it, it's fine.
Yeah.
And there are days when I don't have it, it's not fine. So
Yeah.
it depends. But yeah, I'm a huge coffee drinker.
Cool. Speaking of work, what is your workplace?
I work for a relocation company.
Ah, relocating what?
Relocating people. So
Really?
basically, yeah, it's our company basically works with a bunch of different other companies that when they need to move their employees for work, we do that. So we handle everything. So
Wow.
anything from booking flights to moving all of their household goods to setting them up with temporary accommodations and
Wow.
all of this different stuff, selling their house, buying a house.
Really? That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a while now. It's been 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
So, I guess companies kind of seek you out, or do you have like a client base, or how does that work?
Yeah, we have a client base. So I work for one specific company. And so I just kind of deal with that that company's employees, and then I'm also on the international side of business. So I deal primarily with people that are moving into the U.S. from other countries.
Okay.
So people moving from like Japan, Taiwan, Singapore to the U.S. For a little while, we were dealing with people moving from Europe into the U.S. or the U.S. into Europe. That's kind of been handled, or is transitioned and being handled by our European office that we have. So they're kind of doing that. And then we also have an office in Asia that handles kind of moves in Asia for that particular client. But yeah,
Cool.
anything coming from outside the U.S. into the U.S. I handle. So I deal with a lot of international people from all sorts of places and kind of guide them through the whole process and set them up in the U.S.
Nice. And for like language transfer, that aspect of it as well, is that a problem, or you set that all up as well?
Yeah, it kind of depends on what they need and what the company's willing to offer them for certain relocations. But for the most part, if they are coming from a foreign country, if it's their first time in the U.S. or they don't speak English very well, then we have providers that will set them up with language training and stuff like that. And I do sometimes run into cases where someone doesn't speak English very well and they can understand more, but they can't really communicate as well.
Yeah.
So that's where I sometimes run into problems. But then they'll prefer communication via email. So if I can type everything out to them in an email, they can then go over it, translate it if they need to, kind of take their time with it, break it down, and then it's fine. So I run into those issues sometimes. I don't know, I'm really good with accents. So if someone has a really thick accent, I tend to not have an issue understanding them, where maybe somebody else might. I don't know if that maybe has to do with the fact that, I speak another language myself. So I maybe just have that kind of inherently, I'm good with accents and understanding people and stuff like that. So I mean, like I said, I've been doing it for 10 years now, which is amazing to think that I've been in
That's crazy.
the same place for that long. But I love it. I still love it despite 10 years.
So you love it. Is there one thing that you point to that kind of you gravitate with the job? Like, is it the helping somebody, like the person, a person on person kind of connection that you're hands on and you're helping somebody? Is that what gravitates you to stay?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a big part of it, being responsible for helping this person move to a completely different country that maybe they've never been to, aren't familiar with, and kind of uprooting their lives to come over here to the U.S. to start a new life. So I think that's definitely a part of it, where I get to have that sense of accomplishment for helping this person along through this process, which for some people can be extremely difficult and a really stressful time in their life to try and relocate to, they're not just going down the street or to another city, they're going to another country on the other side of the globe. So I think it's also what keeps me just so engaged in it is that the fact that I do get to meet so many different people from all these different cultures and backgrounds. And it's really, really interesting.
No doubt.
It's always exciting, I guess. It's never, never a dull moment.
No, I can't even imagine. Like that's there must be so much logistics behind moving somebody into another country. Just the, I can't even imagine it. Like I'm flabbergasted right now just to think. Like there must be just oodles of paperwork and oh my God, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, there can be, and we're strictly like a paperless company. So we have been for quite a few years, where everything that we do is electronic. All of our paperwork is electronic. We do a lot of stuff through emails, and then maybe through the phone. With working with international people, usually there's a huge time difference, so phone's not always as as helpful as email, so it's usually a lot of email communication.
Right.
But yeah, it can sometimes be a juggling act because I'm the main person that's overseeing the move, but then I've got a different provider that's helping them move their goods, a different provider that's looking for housing for them, a different provider that's providing the language training, and a different provider for this. And so I basically have to make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, that everything happens timely, and make sure that it's the least amount of stress for the moving employee, and at the same time, making sure that they're completing the different things that they have to do, because I'm here to assist them, but I can't do everything for them because there's paperwork that they need to complete and things that they have to do from their end. And so I'm there to guide them in that, while also making sure everything else runs smoothly. And yeah, it can sometimes be a lot, especially in the summer. The summer is always our busy season because that's, of course, when most people, schools are out. That's when they want to move. So everybody moves in the summer, and it can get pretty crazy. And even though the summer is technically over, it's still busy. So I'm looking forward to when we hit that time frame where it starts to slow down a little bit. We get it more later into fall, and it gets it quiets down.
So on average during the summer, like, would you do like a couple a month, or like what are we talking about?
A couple a month. That's cute.
So a couple a day, is that what we're talking about now?
It can be, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And then there's sometimes we handle entire groups. So the group moves. Usually these are like shorter term assignments where they're just going to the U.S. for a short amount of time for training or something like that, or conferences.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so we just handle that as a short term assignment. But then we can have a small group, a big group. And that can sometimes happen simultaneously with another group, or kind of staggered. And then the particular client that I work with has a lot of interns. So they have a huge intern program that we also help manage. And so if you can imagine, summer's also when all the college kids are looking to do internships. You've got all of this all these different type of people all moving to similar locations all at the same time.
Insane.
And it can get rough.
That is, so now that's even more crazier. Like I was thinking, okay, well, the logistics behind doing just one person, like I can't even fathom how you do that many, like in a week. Like that's crazy.
Oh yeah.
You got a good team.
And then that's the thing too, is that I have a great team of coworkers, and my boss is amazing. I love my boss. I refuse to like ever leave the team. Like I think I was in the same position for quite a long time and wouldn't accept any promotions because I didn't want to go off my team. Like, nope, I will stay here until something opens up on our team. And then that way I could keep my same boss. And then one of my coworkers, we needed I think our team lead retired, and so she then got promoted to the team lead position. Her position was then open for the international position, and so then I went for it, and of course became an international consultant, and then was able to get a promotion and still stick with my same team. So I definitely love my team, and we work really well together. We support each other, which is great, and we have a great group of providers that make it easier to, if you can have people that you can rely on to make sure that things get done and that everything goes the way it's supposed to. Of course, you always run into issues here and there.
Oh yeah, of course.
We don't live in a perfect world.
Yeah,
so,
no, it's not all smiles and chuckles for everybody. No,
exactly. But no, it's great. I love work. So even when it gets, crazy and things, it's nice to know that I at least have great people to work with. So I have a great work environment and a great boss who, has our back and supports us and gets us the tools that we need to do to do our job. So that makes it worth it. It can be stressful, but that's good to have.
Yeah, no, it always starts at the top, right? If you don't have some, a good role model or a good leadership at the top, it just trickles down, right?
Exactly.
So you're really good at relocating people. When are you going to relocate this Mr. Palmer guy?
Well, And and we have had the conversation, and that goes back again to much earlier in our conversation where I was saying it would be great to be further closer to the East Coast, and that's something that I'd already thought about long before Palmer was that it'd be great to move back to or move closer to the East Coast. I mean, when we were
Right.
living in Kentucky, we were fairly close, so back then we could go to Germany a lot easier.
Yep.
Our family could come visit us a lot easier. It's a long trek to fly from Arizona to Germany.
No doubt.
We usually go from Arizona to somewhere on the East Coast.
Yep.
So you've got however long that is, plus layovers, and then it's an overnight flight from the East Coast to Germany. So sometimes you've got 15, 16 hours that you're traveling. You've been awake since God knows how early in the morning, and then by the time you get there and get to where you need to go, you've been awake and on the go for 24 hours straight.
Yeah, no.
And it's rough.
No doubt.
It's rough, and it's super expensive to fly from all the way out here. So if anyone would be moving, it would be me.
Really?
And yeah, so I would probably move out there to him because Pennsylvania is a heck of a lot closer to Germany. So
Yes, it is. Is there an East Coast branch?
We used to have an East Coast branch. I think our company has it's not the same company I used to work for when I first started. So we were bought out by another company, and we're taken over. And so back in the time of the old company, we used to have an East Coast branch.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think we maybe have a tiny branch somewhere on the East Coast, possibly in New Jersey. I'm not sure. And so that's not ideal. When we were bought out, our office that's here in Arizona became the largest office that the new company had acquired. So their existing office is in Chicago. It's actually just outside of Chicago in Burr Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
So that was at the time their biggest office. And when they bought us, they gained our office, and our office was, I think, twice as large as their office with way more people. They, of course, reduced that over time. So we're not quite as big as we used to be. A lot more companies have had a chance to move into our building now because of we've been kind of downsized to a couple of floors, which is interesting to kind of have other companies in the same building. Yeah. But so that wouldn't be an easy thing to do, to just kind of switch offices. We do have a London office.
Ooh, there you go.
And boy, did I think about that for a hot minute.
That'd be nice.
But yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of seeing what I can kind of do, and that's kind of the thing that's at the moment holding me back is I, like I said, I love my job so much. I'd love to keep it, and so it's just kind of a figuring that out. And seeing what I can do in order to, keep my current job and move and kind of see where that street or way takes me in my life. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah, no doubt, for sure. Do you have a crazy work story? Has anything crazy happened?
Let's see. Oh, so. One time I was moving someone, and at the time I was still just more of a domestic consultant, where I was more so just dealing with moves within the U.S. Mm-hmm. And I had a customer who we were moving all their stuff. So we sent out the movers. They were packing everything up. They had a dog and a cat. Okay. And so they said it was important that the movers notified them ahead of time when they were going to be there so that they could make sure that their animals were out of the way. Yeah. And they did that. They said, okay, we're going to be here at this time. They arrived. They put the dog in a bathroom or something, so it was out of the way. And they thought the cat was somewhere. I don't know if maybe one thought the wife had taken care of it, or the wife thought the husband had taken care of it, but they didn't see the cat, so they thought, okay, he's outside somewhere wandering around, because I guess it must have been an outside cat. And so they proceeded with packing everything up. They load everything onto the truck. They leave. later on, they notice they can't find the cat anywhere. The cat's not coming back if they're calling.
Oh no.
They leave food out or whatever. And so I get an email the next day, basically saying, we don't know where our cat is.
Oh.
Our cat sometimes likes to crawl inside the couch and hide there if it's scared.
Oh no.
So we think maybe the cat was packed in the shipment.
Oh
So
no.
by the time they realize this and I get this email, they're a little panicked. I reach out to our House of Goods people right away going, this is what we think happened. What do we do? And I think, it may have even been like a couple days before they noticed it, because I think that they maybe had a neighbor that was going to come check on the animals. And so they had gone ahead. And so by that time, the truck was already en route. Like there was really no way for this truck to stop and hold on. And so I'm working on this kind of in the background going, I don't know what to do with this. This has never happened. And then they're saying, yeah, this is rare that we accidentally pack a cat. And the other bad thing about it was that when they packed the sofa, they wrapped it in kind of, like wrapping.
Shrink wrapped it.
Shrink wrap, exactly. So they shrink wrapped it. And they're saying, yeah, we don't know if this cat's going to survive this.
No.
But as soon as it gets to the warehouse, we'll let you know. And so it was just a waiting game. And finally the shipment arrives at the warehouse. And I get communication from our movers saying, the guys at the warehouse started unloading the stuff. They unloaded the couch and they heard the cat.
Oh no.
And so of course they had to cut open the sofa to get the cat out. So and the truck was probably en route for maybe a week or so. So the cat was still alive.
Wow.
It was severely malnourished, but it had survived the entire trip in the back of a truck, shrink wrapped inside a couch.
Oh my God.
And so they gave it water and food and everything. But that, I thought that was the craziest thing. And so they went and claimed their cat, took it to the vet, got it, rehydrated and everything and checked out and all of that. And the movers of course felt bad and were going to give them something towards the vet bills and things like that.
Oh no.
They also of course damaged the couch, so I had to get some approval to get that fixed, because they had to cut it open to get the cat out. So that's probably the craziest thing that I've ever come across.
That's pretty bad, but at least the cat survived, so that's a good thing.
It did, yeah. Everyone was surprised. They were surprised. The movers were surprised. I was surprised. I thought, so many days without food and water. I was sure that cat wasn't going to survive.
It's a goner.
And I was hoping it would, because, who wants to lose a cat, and that'd be horrible.
Oh.
But yeah, it survived. It held on. I was impressed. It probably went through all of its 9 lives right there, right on that trip.
Yeah, it cashed in. That's it.
Yeah, it made it. So.
Is there anything that pisses you off at work? You like to change, or?
I don't think really there's anything that pisses me off. I'm not really an angry person. Like it would take a lot to really get me riled up and angry. I'm usually very calm and collected. Stuff stresses me out all the time,
well,
especially when we're really busy.
Yeah.
And then stuff when things happen that are kind of out of your control and you can't really do much, that's when you feel helpless, and that just kind of irks you.
Yeah.
And stuff. But nothing that really truly pisses me off. I usually can handle things very well. People sometimes think, wow, how can you be so calm? Like, I don't know.
It's German efficiency.
That's probably what it is. I'm going to use that because all the time I'm like, I don't know, maybe I don't have emotions. I don't know. I always used to joke that I was like Spock, where I was just really, everything was not serious, but now how he is. How he is. He's just very, nothing gets to him. He's not very emotional. Everything's just matter of the fact kind of thing. And that's kind of how I am a little bit. Like, I don't get very emotional. I hardly ever cry kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can think of a story when before I was at this job, I was working as a barista in a Barnes& Noble cafe,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember that my mom was already working at the company, and she had something happen where they thought she was maybe having a heart attack or something because she was
Ooh.
having trouble breathing, and I think we eventually found out that she had like some kind of pneumonia or something. But the people at work at the time were kind of panicked, and so I was at work at the time. We get a phone call from the hospital because they'd called an ambulance and taken her to the hospital, and my manager at the time answered the phone, and I was in the back washing dishes.
Oh.
And I remember she takes the call, gets the information that my mother's in the hospital,
Yeah.
and she comes into the back to tell me, and so she's trying to be really delicate about it
Oh.
and go, I have something to tell you. You don't freak out because things are okay, but your mom's in the hospital, and so they think it's good for you to go and visit. And she's like, I'm totally okay with you leaving your shift early. I'll cover. I'll get somebody else in if I need to. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I just look at her and go, oh, okay. Because she's like, yeah, they said everything's fine. She's doing okay. It's not an emergency. I'm like, oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, I would love to go if that's okay. She's like, yeah. And I end up going, and I the next shift when I go back, she pulls me aside and goes, I just have to say, you are so calm. I told you that your mom was in the hospital, and you just went, oh, okay, yeah. I should go visit her and all of that. And she's like, I could never be so calm. She's like, how do you do that? Like, I don't know. I don't tend to panic.
Yeah, panicking sometimes is not good. I'm like that too. Like,
Right.
if something happens, I'm more of a kind of, okay, let's assess what's happening and what have I got to do to change this. And it could be work, it could be home life, or some sort of panic situation that's coming up. And the other girls in the house tend to go around like their hair's on fire. And you don't get anything done. So it's like, okay, so all right, now you want to calm down and let's figure out what we got to do now. But yeah, there's something to be said about staying the course and trying to figure out what you need to do.
Yeah, I've always been the most calm. I mean, my mom it tends to be a calm person as well, but there are times when she's not calm, and I have to be the voice of reason and be like, it's okay, we'll figure this out, don't worry.
Yeah.
And my sister too, that they're very much alike. So it's funny that so especially when I was younger and in high school and would be calm like that, when other people would be stressed out and freaking out, my people are like, what? Or my friends would be saying things like, are you dead inside? What's going on? And like, you're like Spock. It's creepy. Like, well, thank you. He's my favorite.
Yeah, exactly. That's a compliment, don't you know?
Exactly.
Last question for the work side. Do you hang out with any coworkers? Like, do you socialize with coworkers or get into TV with them?
Oh yeah, I do. I mean,
Yeah?
we don't really have like a water cooler or anything that we hang out. Our coffee at work isn't that great, so most of us don't tend to drink it if we don't have to. So we don't tend necessarily hang out in the break room. But yeah, I mean, we'll every once in a while throughout the day we'll chat with each other across our cubicle walls and talk about different things. I have one of my coworkers, who's also a friend of mine, is he's a big geek like I am, so
Okay.
we'll talk all the time about TV shows and superhero movies and stuff.
Nice.
And he's a big Superman fan. I'm a big Batman fan. I mean, he likes we both like both of those too, but we tend to talk a lot about that stuff. So a lot of DC stuff, Marvel, all the TV shows we watch. We watch a lot of the same ones. We both go to our local Comic-Con and stuff like that. So
nice.
Oh yeah, and then I chat with the other gals on our team. He's not the only guy, but he's one of two guys on our team. The rest of us are all girls, including our manager. So they're outnumbered. But the other ones I'll tend to talk different stuff about. one of my coworkers bakes a lot, and she'll bring in just tons of baked goods for us, which we love her for.
Nice.
And so she's in charge of all like our team birthday parties and things.
Awesome.
So they'll constantly be food and baked goods and things, and usually on Fridays she'll just randomly decide to bake something and bring it in, and it's amazing. Like today she brought in chocolate chip brownies. They were so good.
Yeah. So was she responsible for that Canada Day?
No, that was more of it was a company thing that we have a specific group that's in charge of organizing like company-wide activities and things. So there was actually different people that were involved with the Canada Day.
Nice.
That was because we basically they based it off of they wanted to do something special for all of our offices. So we do have a Canadian office. Actually, our parent company is a Canadian company.
Oh, really?
So they are based in Toronto. So,
of course.
So that's where they are. So that's why they wanted to do a Canada Day. So they did a Canada Day for our Toronto office. We had a Singapore Day for our Singapore office.
Nice.
I think they were going to do a London Day. I can't remember, but or maybe I don't even remember if they actually did the Singapore Day. Now that I think about it, I may have not been there. I don't remember, but
yeah,
I was there for the Canada Day, and they did that one first because it was right around the time that it was what was it, 125 years?
150. Yeah.
150.
Close.
Yeah. So yeah. So because it was right around the big 150 for Canada and the Canada Day, so they kind of lined that up pretty well.
Yeah, July 1st is Canada Day up here. So cool. Let's move on to passion questions. So what would you consider your work of passion?
It's funny. I looked at this question and went, oh, I could answer this way. But really, that's not true right now. So should I go the other way? So because it's the summer and I'm incredibly busy at work, one of my passions has kind of fallen to the wayside, which is my blog. So because I'm incredibly busy during the summer with work, I'm sitting at a computer screen all day, sometimes working longer hours and everything, that when I get home, I really don't want to sit in front of a computer screen anymore.
No doubt. Exactly.
And type more.
Yeah.
So I tend to not write as much in the summer, and so there tends to be a lot less blog posts on my blog, even though that's what I would consider my passion, and writing has always been my passion for a very long time, since I could write when I was a little kid. I always loved writing, and I would write all these different stories and collect them. And anytime we had to write a story or write something in school, I was super excited.
That's cool.
And would write these lengthy things and stories and papers. I had a really active imagination, so I loved writing, and so that was always been my passion. And then when I decided to start my blog, it was basically for the fact that I hadn't written for such a long time, and I thought, ooh, I really need to get in the habit of that because I miss it. And so I had a friend who was doing a blog at the time, and so I thought, ooh, that would be a great way to kind of get back into it.
Yeah.
And so I did, and then tried to keep up with it and stay consistent, and then that doesn't always happen.
No.
I try. When work slows down, I'll be back again, and I kind of try to intermittently get stuff out there, especially when I'm not exhausted from work. It also comes down to, if I don't have anything that I really feel passionate about writing, then it tends to be harder to write about things and get things out there. There has to be a really great movie to write about, like when Wonder Woman came out, I of course wrote about that. When they announced the first ever female Doctor Who, Doctor, I definitely had to write about the first female Doctor. That was huge and a big deal. So I did that. I really need to get in the habit of doing more books, because I do love reading, and so I do read. I just can't read that much. But what's funny is that Palmer lent me his copy of Ready Player One, because I hadn't read it, and in preparation for the movie coming out next year, I thought, ooh, I should really read this because it seems like something I'd be interested in, and I love the book. It's an amazing book and has all these great 80s references. So I think I definitely will write about that one when I'm finished. So that will probably be the next thing I write about.
Nice.
But so that was, option one. Option two is, of course, the podcasting, because I do consider that a passion, and that's one that really doesn't stop, except I do get a break in the summer because there's no show to talk
Right. Yeah, you get a little bit
so
of
that
downtime.
it works out well.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, when I'm absolutely crazy busy at work, I don't have to worry about coming back and podcasting or recording anything, because there's no show to talk about. Because when you do a fan cast about a TV show, you need a TV show to happen in order to talk about it.
Exactly.
It's funny, Heno and I always have plans we're going to do these different special shows during the summer. We're going to throw in some other stuff like Batman movies and comics, and we have, best laid plans.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it usually doesn't tend to happen because one or the two of us are busy because we're either, going on vacation, or this year Heno got married, so he was gone for a while.
Yep.
And that kind of kept us from recording. But I think podcasting is another one that I really love doing it. And lately I've been kind of busy with that. All of a sudden I'm getting all these requests to be on podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome. Everybody's kind of reaching out. That's good. Have you ever thought of taking the next step with, either of these passions, like in your writing, a full-blown paper or a magazine or something, or in the other sense, like doing some radio talking? Or have you ever thought about that?
Thought about, yes.
Yeah.
whether I ever actually do it. I mean, that's the goal. That's the dream.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much with the podcasting. I think that'll always just remain like a fun hobby kind of thing that I do on the side. I don't think I really consider it this thing that I want to turn into a full-time thing. But the writing, on the other hand, is definitely something that I have often thought and dreamed about doing as a profession, even if it's not main, maybe just doing it a little bit more. But then right now it's just with work, that's still my priority, because
of course,
my livelihood. It's how I make money to pay all my adult things. Because adulting is hard.
Well, yeah, tell me about it. Throw some kids into the mix. You'll find out adulting is like super hard. Is it, would you still go into the stream of the blogging style, or like a book? Like where would the focus be?
I thought about all of it. There was a time that I was doing a lot of writing with a partner. Like my best friend and I would do a lot of writing, and we had been since we were 12 years old. We just thought, why don't we write together? And we would write these elaborate stories and spanning years. And so we'd save all these online chats and emails and online docs just chocked full of all these different things. And it was always a conversation between the two of us where we should, if we pull together all this stuff that we've written over the years, we have this ginormous novel that we could just put together and everything. So it's always been kind of something that we think about and go, yeah, let's do that. And then life happens and it goes nowhere.
Of course.
But we do have kind of the makings of what could be a decent sized fantasy novel if we wanted to do something with it. Nice. It's just a matter of neither of us has the time that we want to put towards it. But that's always been kind of a thing that's been in the back of my brain. I think I'll always keep the blog. I think that's something that I love doing. I love the format and the style of it.
Yeah.
It's something you can just throw together fairly quickly, depending on, what you're writing about. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but then you can just, put it forth, share it, and it's out there in the world. Yeah. I think the one thing that I would absolutely love to do, and would be that next step that I would aim for, would be something similar to what Sarah does, where, I'd be freelance writer for some type of website or news thing or something like that. That would be something I would love to do, especially if it was something about what I'm passionate about, something that I'm passionate about to write much like she does, or she's recapping some of her favorite TV shows. It's like,
Yeah.
if I could get that gig, it's like, yes, let me write about Comic-Cons or, geek stuff or whatever and pay me to do it. Yes.
Yeah, I can do that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Going back to podcasting for a second, are you happy with the representation from a gender kind of point of view where we are in podcasting right now?
I would say so. I mean, it's hard to say, podcasting wide, because it's just a huge medium and there's so many shows out there. But I think, just basing off of our podcast circle, the circle that, we're both a part of, and then the other little circles that, we revolve around.
Yeah.
I know quite a lot of female podcasters.
Yep.
And have had an opportunity to be on their shows, and I listen to quite a few of them. Even if it's just, even the shows that are couples where there's male and female. I mean, that's a great dynamic. There's a couple shows where it's just females, or at least a female host where they have different guests and things. So just looking at, the podcasts that I listen to, that I am people I'm friends with, and the circles that I kind of run in the podcasting world, I think there's a great mix, gender mix, and that's pretty cool. Yeah,
and that's my point of view as well. Like I was kind of, when I was going through this doc earlier today, I pulled up my queue list, and I was actually doing a count, and it's almost, I'd say 60-40, so 40% female right now in mine, and it just kind of the way that it worked out. I didn't pick them on purpose that way. It's just the way that it kind of worked out. And I was like, it is interesting that the way that podcasting kind of opens it up to everybody, and they're, it's more open to everybody, we should say. It's not, okay, so you got a geek. Yeah, there's a ton of geek casts out there right now, but a lot of them are from females. So it's really good. Like when I kind of presented this to my wife as well, because I'm trying to get her into them right now. She's a serious satellite person, so I'm trying to get her interested into it, into podcasting, and she seems to be. Episode 1 was actually supposed to be her. So I interviewed her, but like I talked about in a previous one, I made a mistake of letting her hear it. So, but if I can get her listening to podcasts and show her a bunch that there's a lot of females out there. Don't worry about it. It's not the Wild West where it's just all guys. I think she'll come around. But
and especially tell her that even those of us that don't have accents don't like the sound of our voice. I know. Everyone doesn't like the sound of their voice. I've gotten more used to it now that I've been doing podcasting for a while. It's always something where people have told me, "Oh, you have a really great voice. You should do like radio or something." Or people listen to people that have listened to my podcast that I know, friends and things, like, "Oh, you sound so great on the podcast. You have such a nice voice," and things. And at the beginning, I thought, "Really? Are you sure?" Because when I listen back to these, I know this is not good. And you hear all of these words that you don't realize that you say, that you listen to, and they're so annoying. And sometimes you say them like 3 times in a row, and you just want to die inside.
I know. It's like, I don't really sound like that, do I?
So stupid.
Do I really say that all the time like that? Oh no.
Exactly. Yeah, because now your voice is recorded, and everything that you're saying is recorded, and you can hear it all word for word. Yeah. But eventually you get used to it, and I'm not gonna say my voice is great and perfect for podcasting or radio or whatever, but I'm okay with my voice, and especially more so now that, like I said, I'm used to it, and I don't mind the sound of my own voice, where some people still just absolutely can't stand it. They'll put out a podcast, but they refuse to listen to it because they don't want to hear their own voice.
So how the hell do they edit it, I wonder?
Yeah, exactly. So that's always funny. But yeah, I think it helps that I love to sing, and so I'll do karaoke and stuff. So I think that, it's just kind of whatever.
So you karaoke. Wow.
Yeah.
When do you normally listen to podcasts? Like, is it going home or is it doing laundry?
It's at work, actually.
Yeah.
Because since I said before that a lot of my stuff is via email, because with the international business, that it's not a lot of time that you're spending on the phone. You're mostly spending time on email.
Right.
So
Right.
to help me, get through the email, keep on pace and everything, I'll listen to podcasts. Before it was podcasts, it was usually music. So I'll
Right.
but now for the sheer fact of I listen to so many podcasts and want to keep up with them all. That's how I spend my work day. So I'll plug in the headphones, turn on a podcast, and just work my way through all of them, from Monday to Friday as they come out, just trying to keep on them, because then when I get home, then I'm usually doing other things like catching up on TV shows and other stuff and reading. And on the weekends, it's catching up from stuff I haven't been able to do the whole week, like chores and errands and all this other stuff. So I don't tend to listen too much on the weekends. And, sometimes it can get too much. Like if I'm either too busy or a little bit stressed out, and I won't be able to listen to people talking. Regardless, it could be the most just enthralling, interesting topic, and I won't be able to listen to people talking.
Oh yeah.
Like no, I need something else. So then I'll turn on the music and usually just loud rock music and go, okay, let's do this.
Everybody's like that. Cool. Let's get into the Fave 5.
All right.
Do you have a favorite band right now?
I have such an eclectic taste in music. It could change all the time.
Yeah.
So I think like favorite all-time band, maybe Queen is right up there.
Okay.
I love everything that Queen has ever done.
Yeah, it's great.
I feel that it's still sad that we lost Freddie Mercury when we did.
I know.
I wasn't even alive.
Yeah. Have you seen? I think they put out just a slight teaser of the movie that's coming out with. Is it Valderrama playing? Or no, not Valderrama. It's the guy from. Who's playing him in a new movie?
It's Sacha Baron Cohen, isn't it?
No,
I thought I heard him.
No.
I don't know.
It's
I could be thinking of something else.
No, it's the young guy from iRobot. Not iRobot. I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, Mr. Robot, right?
Mr. Robot, yes.
Yes.
Good grief, iRobot.
Oh God. I can't. It's like it's Will Smith.
No. Yes, Mr. Robot.
I can't think of his name right now, but yeah, I know. And yeah, I know. I hadn't heard that. I think I heard from somewhere else that maybe they were in the talks of Sacha Baron Cohen, because I know in some things that he's done, he almost looks spot on for Freddie Mercury. But I think that maybe that's not the route that they wanted to go, because he does a lot of comedy and stuff. But no, I think that guy would be fun. I haven't seen a lot of Mr. Robot. I keep hearing that it's really great and that I should watch it.
Oh my God.
And I just don't have the time. But
well, that's the thing, right? Like you gotta pick what you can watch, in the amount of time that you have in the evenings, right? Because you can have 20 shows, but good God, trying to watch everything else and absorb it at some levels, insane. But there's a photo going around. He looks really, really good. I mean, he looks spot on. If the movie or if this picture is any indication where the movie's going, I think they're going to do a good job with it. So that's the guitarist amazes me a little bit. Brian May, right? What he did for guitars, like rewrapping his own pickups and whatnot for making his own guitars. It was something that I haven't listened to a lot of Queen. I've listened to, all your basic radio hits, but in doing a little bit of background, music magazine reading, you pick up a few things, and Brian May always amazed me on, the way he had very specific requirements for his guitars and his amps and his setup and all that. And I just found him pretty cool for that. And of course, Freddie Mercury's voice is, I mean, good God. It's unmistakable and poignant and right in your face. So it's I like Queen as well.
Yeah, they've always been one of my favorites.
Yeah, they're great. Do you have a favorite movie right now? Do you
That's
have
always a
time
hard
for
one too.
movies?
I do have time for movies, and it's funny because you there's all these movies from like your childhood. They're like, this is my
Yeah.
favorite movie ever, and
Yeah.
then then you grow up and there's other movies and they become your favorite, and it just kind of depends on what's happening at the time.
That's right.
So just because it happens to be fresh on my mind because it's the 30th anniversary and they're bringing into theaters A Princess Bride.
Nice. Yeah. I'm trying to get, I don't know why, but my kids are not interested in that movie, and I'm trying so hard to get them to watch it. I go, you just got to watch it. It's great.
Oh no. I know a lot of people that said the same thing, that they try to take their kids to it and they were not at all interested, and it makes me sad.
I know.
It hurts my heart. I'm like, why? This is amazing. I mean, same thing with like Labyrinth too.
Yeah.
God, I could watch that over and over and over again, and there's just these amazing movies from the 80s that
Yep.
they're lost on the children today.
I know. I
You
know.
don't understand why. You're like, no, you have to like it.
Yeah. Watch this. Love it. I will convince them one of these days they're going to watch it. I know I tried to get them to watch Titanic one time just for something to do. No, they didn't have any part of that. So that's Labyrinth.
That's hard. That's hard. Titanic.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember we had the VHS.
Yep.
The dual VHS, where it was too long to be on one VHS tape, and then
Yep.
you would put it in, you'd watch it, then you have to take that one out and put in the second
Yeah.
one.
Intermission.
Oh God, that's amazing that is the thing that we used to do. But yeah, I could see that one being a tough one for kids. And then you look at all the movies that are out nowadays, and there's just so many more that are available.
Yeah.
Then you can't really blame them because they have things like Wonder Woman
Yeah.
and stuff like that is just amazing, and it shows you just how far movies have progressed and just what they can do with today's technology that they
Yeah.
couldn't do back then and in the days of practical effects and things. But it's kind of that nostalgia that even though you know that the movie's not perfect and some of the stuff doesn't look quite real or lifelike,
Yeah.
it's special.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that's very good prime examples is Princess Bride and Labyrinth. I want them to see Neverending Story as well if they have a chance.
Oh yeah, that's another one. And
Yeah.
all those 80s movies, it's also the fact that the writing was so amazing that people are still quoting these movies to
Yeah.
this day, and they hold up.
Yep.
You can still watch it now and enjoy it just the same as you did when you were a kid. It's amazing, and that boils down to the fact that they had amazing directors, amazing writers, and great acting. That it's sometimes nowadays it's not the same, and you kind of don't have that same quality in everything. Of
Yeah.
course, there's a ton of things out there that are amazing and quality and great actors and great directors and all that stuff still, but it just something has changed.
Yeah.
And even the music that they used in these movies it's completely different now.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, there's so many out there that are just amazing movies from just all sorts of decades in the past.
I know that's sometimes I get a little upset about remakes, and then I think, well, hang on, we've got children that they don't even know what a cassette tape is. They barely know what a CD is right now. And
yeah,
how do you sit them down and show them an 80s movie and their brain is just taken out of the story and the acting completely because they're looking at something that they're like, what is going on? Like, I don't understand what this like blocky thing is, so to remake a movie and then, put it in their context so they, get the story and whatnot. Sometimes I don't have a problem with it.
Right. It hurts us, but it's good for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you got these newer generations that they don't know these old movies.
Yeah.
And even if you show it to them, like you said, it boggles their mind. They're like, wait, that's a cell phone?
Yeah.
And what's that thing? That's a fax machine.
Yeah.
And this is a computer.
Yeah.
It's like that takes up the entire desk. I know, that's a computer.
Exactly.
And yeah, like you said, the cassette tape things, and you try to tell them about a Walkman, and they go, "Why are you telling me to walk?"
Yeah. No,
It's like, no, it's what we used to listen to. It was our iPod.
yeah. Like my daughter just turned 8 in August, and when I start talking about CDs, like she really doesn't understand what a CD is because she's never really had them. Like everything's been either digital or iTunes or something, right? So she doesn't even really know what a CD player is. And I never really, it didn't sink in until one day I just sat and thought about it and went, yeah, she doesn't really know what a CD is. It's insane. And let alone a record or an 8-track or something like that. It's just, forget that.
Oh, I know. And then the fact that, we used to watch VHS tapes.
Yeah.
It'd get to the end, and then we'd have to sit there and let them rewind and wait for it to rewind because you hated the fact that if you forgot it and you went to go watch it again, you're like, damn it, I forgot to rewind the VHS again.
Yeah, and everybody had the little car or the rewinder on top.
Yeah. And then, of course, the cassette tapes, there was always the dreaded moment when it get pulled and you'd have to, rewind it back in and hope it doesn't tear or anything because then you're done. You'd have to get another one. And, there's always a pencil or a pen line around where you could stick it in there and wheel it all back in again. And just thinking of these things that just were second nature to us that we grew up with. And it's amazing that they don't know any of that. But then you look at the kids nowadays and they're going to be so much better at computers and technology than us or previous generations were because they're growing up with that. They don't know a time without smartphones and all these different technologies that they're now used to, and the things that technology has opened up for them is just amazing. My 3-year-old niece was visiting not too long ago, and she knows her way around Netflix better than I do.
Oh, I know.
she's 3, and the same with the smartphone. If we're out we were out somewhere and she wanted to watch something on my phone, and she just picked it up. I unlocked it for her. I said, okay, do you want me to do it for you? And she's like, no. And she finds my YouTube, clicks on it, and starts looking stuff up on YouTube. Like, child, you just, it seems like you just learned to walk and now you learn to talk and you're already going on YouTube. I don't understand.
Exactly. Yeah. No.
It's just,
mine were
boggles the mind.
I know. Mine were the same way. As soon as she was 3, she had the iPad in her hands and she had that. Just unlock it, away they go. But that is a problem though. Like we've noticed recently that we got to start monitoring more because YouTube can be nasty. There's no real filter as well for the kids, so we've actually had to.
I think they're getting better about it now with filters and even like YouTube for kids, so you can kind of monitor a little bit better. But there'd be times where she'd grab my sister's phone or my phone, and then all of a sudden I look down and go, "What are you watching?" Because the movies will just jump to another random movie video and there's all sorts of things on YouTube. So I got into the habit really quickly of making sure she didn't go to YouTube, and I'd already automatically pull up my Netflix that was already set to Netflix Kids. And I'd be like, here, look at this. And then she'd automatically see the bright and colorful shiny things.
Dora.
And go, and so she'd watch something like that. But it's crazy just how what they can get their hands on if you're not careful and what they're watching. I mean, when they're so young, it's like 3. I mean, they are starting to comprehend things, but they don't understand everything. So I hate to say you get lucky that way, but it's a little bit easier than when they start to get older and understand more, and then go, Dad, what does this mean? Or and you go, oh, no.
No. I don't want this conversation right now.
Exactly.
Do you have a favorite comic book or hero?
Batman. It's like hands down.
Yeah.
It's like, you do a Gotham TV show. That's shocking. But it's funny. I like Superman and I like many other comic book heroes and different people. But for me, it's since I first started getting into the comic book realm and comic book movies, it's always been Batman. Like I remember watching the God, I'm blanking on the name now because I've been talking for so long. The older Batmans, the ones that were what's his face from Tim Burton.
Oh yes,
I I was thinking Halloween, Jack Skellington.
Yeah. The Pumpkin King.
Oh, Tim Burton. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Tim Burton Batman movies, those I remember watching those as a kid and thinking they were the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And immediately falling in love with Batman. I watched all the Superman movies too, and
Nice.
I loved those as well. But Batman was always just like my favorite, and I don't know if that had something to do because he was, the Dark Knight, and it was gritty, and he was dressed like a bat.
Is that what draws you to it? The darkness of the comics, or what do you think draws you to Batman?
It must, and it must just also be because he kind of lives that duality, that dual life where he's Bruce Wayne and he's Batman, and he's this guy who had this horrible tragic thing happen to him where he lost his family, and then he goes for revenge and becomes this caped crusader.
Yeah. And
just the fact that there's so much out there and so many different actors have played Batman, some more, some better than others.
Okay, so that being said, are you a Christian Bale or what type of Batman? Or do you like the way that Christian Bale did the darkness of it, or are you more earlier campy style?
I like the Christopher Nolan movies. I thought that Christian Bale he's a great actor, and I like a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
They're great, and I really love them, but they're not my favorite. I think that still falls to the older Batman movies, just because, and I'm blanking on his name again, but in the Tim Burton movies,
yes,
that Batman.
Mm-hmm. Wikipedia, that should give it to me.
IMDb, Wikipedia, one of the two.
Michael Keaton.
Yes. Oh my God. Oh, good grief.
That's what happens when it's later on a Friday evening after a week of work. That's what happens.
Yeah. Even with the coffee, it's like, no, that name is not going to come to you no matter how hard you try unless you look it up. So yes, Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton will always be, my Batman.
Okay.
Just because those movies were the first ones I ended up seeing. That's really what kind of got me into the whole Batman thing, and really got me interested in superheroes and stuff like that. And then of course I moved on from that to the cartoons. I was really into the cartoons and into the old Batman cartoon series, and then Batman Beyond and that sort of thing. So I absolutely love those. Watched it every week after school.
Yeah, they were cool.
Religiously. So I loved all those things. So that's kind of where I'm in. And I think it again has to do with that kind of nostalgia factor where that's what I was first exposed to. That's what I gravitated to. That's what kicked it all off for me. So that's always what's going to be my number one go-to is those things. And anytime they're on TV, I will watch it, those movies, because I love them so much. And there's just something about the way Tim Burton directed those movies, and the actors and people he had in those movies were just fantastic, and it had just that right level of camp where it wasn't as campy as like the 66 Batman, which I actually have to admit that I haven't seen too much of. I know of all the characters, and I've seen some of the shows, but it's not something where I can say I've seen all of the 66 Batman. I haven't. I've met some of the cast because they were all at Comic-Con one year, but that's about my extent of the 66 Batman. But I know exactly how campy those shows were, and so I loved the fact that those Tim Burton movies kind of combined those in just the right amount. It just was all like the perfect ingredients, and it's something that, like I said, I still watch them to this day. So yeah, but the Christopher Nolan movies were amazing. I mean, Heath Ledger as Joker.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think currently that's my favorite right now, is that Heath Ledger was just amazing.
Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. This one's probably going to be an easy one. Favorite TV show. You don't get to say Gotham.
Oh, good. Only because I saw this one and went, okay, so a part of me wants to say Gotham because I feel I have to, even though I do like the show, I do a podcast about it, so I have to love the show. But it's funny because it's honestly is not my favorite show, but that's only because you know there's just so much great TV out there, and there have been shows that I've been watching for a little bit longer than Gotham, and Gotham has had its ups and downs, as I've expressed and Henno have expressed on Gotham Lights many times. But I think that right now, just because it's amazing, it happens to now be right after Gotham,
Yeah.
the Orville
Yeah. Orville's
is
great.
it's just fantastic. I love it so much. So I think that's that's why I can't in all consciousness and then whatever just say Gotham, because I just absolutely love the Orville so much right now. It's since the first show has been solid and funny
I know.
and just clever, and the fact that one of their episodes was about whether or not it was right to give a baby a gender reassignment surgery.
Yeah.
I just thought,
Wasn't that something?
wow, that they
And-
would tackle such a topic on a main TV network and
Yeah.
on a show that people think, oh, is a comedy. And yes, it had to do with an alien race and all of that, but it was fantastic, and the way they chose to portray it, I thought, wow, this is amazing for this type of show. And I didn't think I could love Seth MacFarlane anymore.
I know.
But I do.
And the thing about it was also is that you didn't get the typical outcome with it. It was
No.
they forward I'm probably going to give spoilers, but they went ahead with what they were going to do no matter what. And I was like, okay, well, now I understand where this show is. It's going to give you a little comedy, but it's going to be very serious.
And realistic, because that could happen, despite you wanting to so badly to go one way, that's not the way life is a lot of the time. And I love that they went with that realism to it. And yet, this whole time you're rooting for one outcome, and then the other outcome happens. But yet, I didn't feel upset or, distraught by it. I just felt like I understood. And I think that's because they pulled it across so well, and it was so well written and everything that you kind of just thought, oh yeah, you're a little bummed, but you understood. And I think that's what the whole point of that is you're not going to always get what you want, but the whole fact is you have to understand these different cultures, these different people that have these different ways and practices than you. And it's crazy to think that something like that would not be shared more often, to expose people to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because that's the way life is. It's that episode particularly I was so impressed with. And I love that show for that, and for all the other reasons. The fact that it's a Star Trek show, but with comedy, and I'm a huge Star Trek fan, so just the fact that I have that to watch is amazing. Because I'm not going to pay for the other one right now.
No, it's hitting all the points. I like it. I mean, right down to just like 2-second blurb about Kermit the Frog. It was so simple, but it was funny, but serious in the same manner. Like I'm finding the writing very, very good on it. I'm enjoying the show quite a bit.
Yeah, and I've heard people say that they just can't get into it because they see Seth MacFarlane and they go, oh, I see Brian from Family Guy.
Yeah.
But, that's still different, because he does change his voice for Brian. It's not his natural voice. And even with this one, I'm sure that's not even his natural voice as the captain on this show. Because so it doesn't bother me at all. And, I've watched a lot of his things. I've watched Family Guy and some of his other movies. I've seen a cartoon where he's a singing mouse who sounds like Frank Sinatra. I mean,
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he was in Sing. So
yeah, that's right.
He's so diverse and he's so great. And I really need to get one of his albums, because I would love to listen to it, because he has a fantastic voice. And I think he's just such a diverse guy that he can do lots of things and pull them off, and it's pretty amazing. So yeah, I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, no, he's great. I had a problem at first. So when I first started watching it, I was like, okay, but when I got what he was going after, and I understood, so I don't know if you've noticed it, but the first maybe 2 episodes were really kind of comedy-ish, more so than the last 2. The last 2, even last night, the one that I watched from the other day was like almost super serious. There was very little joking in it. What was jokes were quick and fast. I don't know if you've noticed it as well, but
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I haven't watched last night's show yet either. It's funny, they're back to back on Fox, and I lately have only had issues with those two with my DVR, so I don't know what's going on with it, and so it's kind of sad because I was watching the Orville just fine, and Gotham too, and then now all of a sudden it just doesn't want to work. But I blame Arizona that we have weird things with our channels, and even because we also don't observe daylight savings time. So while the rest of the country jumps back and forth, we just kind of stay put. And so our TV schedule is always completely off. So like we don't line up with mountain time. It's so weird when the stuff is on here and how it kind of works. We're never matching anyone. And so even when it's on the East Coast, you think, 3 hours behind, it should be on at this time in Arizona. It's not.
Yeah.
Like Gotham, I think now that they've done kind of like the little bit of the time change so that they have Gotham and Orville back to back, I think Gotham starts to record for me at 4:00 in the afternoon.
What? That's so
and
weird.
I think, what? At least, last year when it was on, it used to record at 6, which was, that seemed to make more sense. But now, because I was trying to backtrack it because it was already starting to record when because I was working from home and I noticed it. Otherwise, I wouldn't really notice it because I wouldn't be back from work yet normally by that time. And I was trying to go back because the next showing was on at 8:00. And I thought, well, if that's the second showing and I'm trying to go backwards and go, well, then if Orville is on afterward and this is then I'm like, really? Gotham's on at 4:00 in the afternoon?
Oh my God.
I would never be able to watch it without a DVR because I would be at work
Yeah.
still.
Most people would be.
And I thought, for a show like that, why are you bringing that at 4:00 in the afternoon?
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I get that they have, like I said, the second showings that come on later.
Yeah.
But it's so weird. It's so weird. So I think that maybe has something to do with it.
Oh my God. Moving on. Do you have a favorite food? And like I tell everybody else, don't say pizza.
I like pizza, but it's not my favorite food.
Excellent.
I would probably have to say, I mean, it would be kind of like a what do you call it? A kind of an easy out if I just went German food.
Yeah.
But, I think it's because of the fact that, my mom cooks a lot of great German dishes, but we don't have it so often. So anytime I do, I absolutely love it. But I think if I had to pick one, it would probably boil down to, I'm going to say Wiener Schnitzel.
Nice.
Because I love it, and if it's breaded just right, and then you have some lemon with it, and then you can eat all sorts of side dishes with it.
Yeah.
We usually do mashed potatoes.
Yep.
Love mashed potatoes.
Nice.
So that's probably, I would say, a favorite food. But like I said, there's so many different German dishes that I've grown up on that I just absolutely love.
We Manitoba has a lot of Mennonite communities here, and we visit them quite a bit because they have great German restaurants. So yes, lots of schnitzels we eat here as well.
Yeah, I mean, I love bratwurst too, but that it always seems like better when you're eating it at some kind of event, like at a festival or something like that, or in in a beer tent or at Oktoberfest or something. That's when you want to eat like the brat on a roll with some sauerkraut and with a beer. That's that's a perfect thing to eat like at a party or something. But at home, if you just want some just great just home cooking, that's when you want like the schnitzel, or my mom makes a great goulash that is kind of like a German interpretation of goulash, because it's more Eastern European kind of than German, really, but we have our own little way of making it.
Yeah.
And that's another dish that I love.
Well, it's comfort food, right?
Oh yeah, and a lot of potatoes.
Yeah.
The Germans are kind of like the Irish in that way, where everything is served with potatoes, either mashed potatoes, boiled potatoes.
I know.
We're big on our potatoes.
Yes, we are as well. So my wife is heavy into rice, and I'm heavy into potatoes. So somewhere between the two. Yeah, I know that. I love a good schnitzel. I love gravy smothered in mashed potatoes. Now I'm salivating now. So, moving on from salivating, let's get into the 3 songs that you picked for tonight.
Already.
Yeah. So we got the first one. We got "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen. What's the story behind that one?
Well, like I said before, they are a favorite band of mine and have been for a really long time. When I really started kind of discovering music on my own and starting to decide what I liked as far as music goes, where it wasn't something that was just introduced by my parent or parents.
Yeah.
It was Queen, and it was kind of that classic rock genre that I really started to sink my teeth into.
Yeah.
And Queen was the first, and I think the one that I just fell full force into, and just started collecting everything that I could from Queen.
Yeah.
I think there was one birthday. I can't remember what year exactly anymore, because it's been a long time, but it was somewhere in the tweens, early teens, where for one birthday my mother bought me the entire CD collection of the Queen Gold collection. Yeah. Where it's basically 4 CDs, if I'm not mistaken. Just this huge volume of every Queen song that you can imagine, and I listened to those CDs over and over again. Wow. I thought I was going to wear them out with how much I listened to them. I'd beg Mom to let me listen to them in the car.
Nice.
I'd listen to them on my CD player, my boombox. Once technology proceeded and I could upload them onto my computer, I did that.
Yeah.
Put them on, my little MP3 player that I had at the time. And then it just it went from there. So once I got into Queen, then I started getting into all the other classic rock bands like Journey and Boston and all those other ones.
Yeah.
David Bowie and, all these different Brit bands and Brit pop and Brit punk. And then that, gradually moved over to other type of rock, modern rock, heavy metal, punk, all sorts of things.
Cool.
And it just kind of went from there. So I attribute Queen to kind of my introduction into the rock music that I love now.
Yeah. Right on. The second one that you brought was Underground by David Bowie. Similar explanation?
Kind of. That one is basically, I love David Bowie, and funny enough, I loved him first because of Labyrinth than actually his music.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
I remember being a young kid just hooked on Labyrinth and loving that movie so much, and having the hugest crush on David Bowie.
Really?
And going from, being young enough to not really understand why people would make such a big deal about his tight pants, to then getting older and going, oh yeah, the tight pants, I get it now. And just, being exposed to his music through that movie,
Yeah.
and then, getting older and discovering more music and realizing, oh, he's had this entire music career outside of this movie that I have not been aware of
Yeah.
and need to listen to. So then I had a whole phase where I just dived into David Bowie, and I've absolutely loved him, and I have Labyrinth to thank for that. And Underground has always been one of my favorite songs. I mean, I have several
Yeah.
of from that movie soundtrack that I absolutely love, but Underground was the one that I think had the most commercial success off of that album as well, because they did a whole big music video,
Yeah.
and it was him and the Jim Henson puppets that were in there, and
That's right.
this cool like drawing effect that they used in it. And I was really mesmerized by the fact that he had two different colored eyes. It wasn't until much later that I realized it's not that they're two different colors. It's that one of them is he had an eye injury that caused his pupil to remain completely dilated all the time.
Yep.
But it looks like he has a brown eye and
Yep.
a blue eye, but really his eyes have always been blue. It's just the one is so dilated that it looks brown. But
Yep.
so that I was always mesmerized by that, and of course, then later I learned that was a condition that he had. That wasn't. Even though I think there are people that are born with two eye colors, it can happen.
Yeah.
Genetics are crazy, people.
Oh yeah. Strange thing happens when chromosomes split.
Exactly. So yeah, that's why I picked that one. I knew that I had to pick something from Bowie, even though there's so many other songs of his that I love. And more so his, I mean, Mom was into his 80s music, because I think everybody was. Let's Dance was the hugest album ever.
Oh yeah.
And everybody loved it, and he made such a commercial success off that album, and he hated that album.
Yeah.
He couldn't stand the fact that everybody loved this music because it was so outside of what he wanted to do, and it was so crazy because there's some really good songs on there if you like that pop music, and I love those songs too. But when I dived into those older songs of his, that's where I really fell in love with Bowie, and love those older songs of his. So yeah,
right on. And then the last one that you brought was kind of different from the rest. Which is a band that my eldest daughter, which is 16, is into. But you brought Thunder by Imagine Dragons. What's going on there?
And that it's simply, I am just obsessed with this song. It's their brand new song. It just came out, so it's obviously being played on the radio like crazy. But I've actually always loved Imagine Dragons since they came out with I'm gonna blank on the name of the song, Radioactive.
Oh yes.
So ever since they came out with Radioactive, with that first album that they came out with, I absolutely loved that song, and I immediately had to go out and buy that album, and loved all the songs on the album, and then every album that came after that, I've also loved. They just have this type of sound that is just really catchy and draws you in, and the lead singer has a great voice. Like, there's something about his voice that I really like, and every album had something a little bit different. And then as soon as I heard this song, at first I didn't realize it was Imagine Dragons, because it actually sounds so much different than anything else they've done. It's a little bit more processed, or they put a little bit more synthetic sound in there.
Yep.
But I hear it, and just immediately I just want to like dance along to it. And every time I hear it in the car, I turn the volume all the way up and I sing along, and it's great. And then Windows has started using it for their the commercial for their new Surface tablet PC thing.
Oh, really?
So every time that comes on, I hear it again there and go, ooh, that song, yay! And so that one literally made it on the list just because it's something that I'm obsessed with at the moment. And there's a couple things that are I guess what you consider more pop or alternative that I just kind of tend to get obsessed with and listen to over and over and over again. And sometimes, get tired of it, but sometimes it keeps me hooked, and that's definitely the Imagine Dragons for me. There's some things will fall away because it just gets overplayed, and then I just don't want to listen to it anymore.
Well,
I need a break from it, but their
yeah.
music, anytime it comes on, even if it's the older songs and they played it however many times, I've heard it however many times, even if I've heard it before that same day,
Yeah.
I will still sing along and just enjoy it really really a lot, or really much. I can't talk anymore. I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, no,
So
they're
that's
good.
why they
They're
made
good.
it on there.
I Imagine Dragons, Radioactive, and you're gonna curse me for this because next time you hear it, you're gonna go, that guy. For the longest time, I thought for sure that he was saying, "I'm ready to rock, dude." I thought for sure and when you listen to it now, you're going to say, yeah, I hear that.
That's funny.
Yeah, my dog.
That happens. It happens to me too. I mean, there are songs that I remember growing up listening to that I could have sworn was something, and that it was completely different. Like, for example, what was it? Oh, there was that Bob Seger song that I think was Like a Rock.
Yeah.
And I could have sworn, if you would have asked me as a kid, I heard Back Her Up or Bag Her Up. And it was because I heard the song, but then there was also, I think it was a Ford F-150 commercial or something that was on the TV at the time, where I thought that because they used that song, it was for the truck, and they kept singing "Back Her Up," like back up the truck.
Bag her up.
And it wasn't until I got older that I realized the song was actually not just for that commercial. It was a Bob Seger song called "Like a Rock," and I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Yep.
The Ford truck is tough like a rock.
Yeah.
Not back up the truck.
Yeah. We had that here. I think it was Chevy, Like a Rock, but yeah, we had that here too. That's funny. Bag her up. Like a
that's one
thick Texan accent.
Exactly. My mom will never let me live that down. And it was because we were living in Kentucky at the time and everybody drove pickup trucks because this is the country. So
there
I
you go.
thought that was, back her up. Totally.
That's hilarious. That's great. Last section. Something that I've started now, 3 of them, but it's called Called Out, and it's who would you like to hear on a future cast and why?
See, I knew this was coming, and I tried to think about it ahead of time, and it's so hard. Like so many names in my head.
Yeah.
But I think I will agree with Uncle Jay, because since he's the one that called me out and said you need more women on this podcast, that I think I want to go with another woman. It's just now, narrowing down to which woman I know do I want to have on here.
Yeah.
And God, so it's like who do I pick? And I think I'm going to go with Annalise. Annalise from Dark Angels and Pretty Freaks.
All right. That's great. You know what? That's funny. Just before you said it, I was thinking that. So that's great. I'll reach out and see what happens.
Oh yeah, because she loves guesting on podcasts. And she's a friend of mine. So is Neil. I've been to visit them in California.
Oh, that's right.
Great people. I love their podcast. She has an amazing job, so
I want to.
I think it'd be great for people to hear about, and she loves to share what she can.
Nice.
So
I
think
I listen every week.
Great.
So yeah, I got some swag from them last summer. So.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I did as well, and I think plus she's so great. Like she's got this infectious laugh.
Yep.
And she's just so fun that you can't help but smile whenever you hear her or now see her, because now they're doing a vlog as well, which is amazing.
Exactly.
I love watching the videos.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. It's funny you say that. It helped you get through stuff, because I'm usually folding clothes when I'm listening to their cast on Sundays, usually, and it's Yeah, the laugh is infectious, and it just helps. I don't even remember half the time that I was doing laundry. So
Yeah. And I'll specifically save that for work on Monday because it's a Monday morning. I know that if I listen to that, it'll just start my day out just right.
Yep.
To listen to them and them joking around with each other
Yeah.
and just all the fun stuff that they talk about. It really has a way of kicking off my morning to a great start. So
Yep. That's great. Awesome. Well, I thank you so much for taking time with me today. If you want to plug something, go for it. How people can get in contact with you, your shows, have at it.
yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me on. I've had so much fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
And if people want to get a hold of me, you can reach me personally on Twitter at badwolfa87. You can check out the blog, which is frombraintokeyboard.com. You can also check out Gotham Lights. We're on Twitter at Gotham Lights. You can find the show on just about every podcast app available. So iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Google Play. If you're into Batman, Gotham, if you want to check out the show, if you're interested, you can find it there. We also have a Facebook page too. If you want to check that out, you can just search Gotham Lights on Facebook or facebook.com/Gotham Lights.
All right. So thanks again. We'll be talking on the 10th.
All right. Talk to you then.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Lightning before the thunder. Thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, thunder, feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, 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 thunder. Were laughing in my classes while I was scheming for the masses. Who do you think you are? Dreaming about being a big star. They say you're basic, they say you're easy. You're always riding in the backseat. Now I'm smiling from the stage while you were clapping in the nosebleeds. Thunder, 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 thunder. Thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, thunder, feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, thunder. Thunder, feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, 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 feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, thunder.
Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time. I feel alive, and the world I'm turning inside out. Yeah, I'm floating around ecstasy. So don't stop me now. Don't stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time, having a good time. A shooting star leaping through the sky like a tiger, defying the laws of gravity. I'm a racing car passing by like Lady Godiva. I'm gonna go, go, go. There's no stopping me. I'm burning through the sky, yeah. 200 degrees, that's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. I'm traveling at the speed of light. I wanna make a supersonic man out of you. Don't stop me now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now. If you wanna have a good time, just give me a call. Don't stop me now. 'Cause I'm having a good time. Don't stop me yes, now. I'm having a good time. I don't wanna stop at all. Yeah. I'm a rocket ship on my way to Mars on a collision course. I am a satellite. I'm out of control. I'm a sex machine ready to reload. Like an atom bomb about to explode. I'm burning through the sky. Yeah. 200 degrees, that's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. I'm traveling at the speed of light. I wanna make a supersonic woman of you. Don't stop me, don't stop me, don't stop me. Hey, hey, hey! Don't stop me, don't stop me. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Don't stop me, don't stop me. Have a good time, good time. Don't stop me, don't stop me. Burning through the sky. 200 degrees, that's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. Traveling at the speed of light. I wanna make a supersonic man